皆さんこんにちは。ロンドン在住パフォーマーの中園理子です。先日お家で生配信を楽しめる Old Vic in Camera について動画を上げましたが、やはり舞台に立つ側、役者側としても観客側ともに生の舞台の独特の醍醐味に欠けるというのが私たちの見解でした。本日は最近イギリスで出てきた出張一人芝居について、実際にその公演でパフォーマンスをしているアクターをお招きしてインタビュー形式でディスカッションしていきたいと思います。Thank you for coming, Jonah.
Thank you.
This is my first time doing interviewer,
Cool.
so bear with me.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. Yeah.
So, you have performed on a couple of West End shows, including National Theatre, and you put together a play for Fringe Festival as a producer, writer, and also actor. As a successful actor, how's your life during the lockdown?
I mean, I found it all right personally because
Okay.
I found my approach to be more of a daily process instead of trying to plan ahead. But also doing things like, you know, eating well, keeping healthy, exercising, stuff like that. I found it not too bad. I mean, you know, there are the stresses financially as well. But I found it not too bad, actually. I've sort of found it not too bad myself.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Has it affected your performance and stuff?
Well, I mean, I was rehearsing a play that
Okay.
finished on the Monday when Boris Johnson announced don't go to theatres. Yeah, I mean, it has affected it massively because you don't get to really keep your muscle warm in that sense, you know.
Play got postponed. Do you know the exact day they can open?
Well, they're planning October,
Okay.
end of October, if they can, that is.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Was it today or yesterday that we got announcement from government saying they need to postpone for the trial?
I believe it was last night because they've allowed vulnerable people to leave homes today for the first time, like my grandma, for example. So she can actually leave the house for the first time properly since lockdown today. Today. So, you know, they're trying to keep it good for them.
I see, okay.
So I get it as well because it's better to be safe than sorry.
So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, for now anyway.
For now,
We've got to be patient.
yeah.
I mean, Ed Fringe should have technically started today, I think, as well. So it's like, it really sucks. But it will be back next year. So
Hopefully.
fingers crossed, that's exciting.
Yeah. In Japan, they just hit the second wave.
Yeah, I have heard something about that.
And I've seen some news that they are doing the rehearsal for performance, and 20 people and actors, they got, and not just actors, but directors and
Stagehands and
yeah,
stuff.
they got 20 cases.
Wow, in one production?
Yeah.
Hopefully they will learn from this. And
I hope
every
so
other
too.
theatre company around the world and any other business of that similar ilk will learn from this. So we can prevent this from getting any worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the main discussion for today.
Right.
Can you tell me about the play, which is the one-person show that you're currently playing?
Yeah, sure. So it's called Bard in the Yard,
Yeah.
from a company called Will & Co. Their artistic director also wrote the play. Her name's Victoria Baumgartner. And they're a company that specialise a lot in retellings of Shakespearean stories or Shakespeare's story himself. So the play was written by Victoria after she had actually suffered with COVID herself.
So she got corona.
Yes, so it sort of came from this idea. It's basically about William Shakespeare during lockdown in 1605 trying to write King Lear.
So that's an actual
Yes, because he
story.
wrote King Lear during a plague lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's about him trying to seek inspiration because he's stuck. So he goes to people's gardens where it's performed, and you try and gain inspiration from the audience by interacting with them in the form and the medium of a one-man show. And it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's really, really good. It's great to act again as well. You know, it's such a relief. You know, doing rehearsals via Zoom is very weird. But
So you had a rehearsal by Zoom.
we had 4 rehearsals in 3-hour slots. So 4 3-hour rehearsals.
Okay.
On Zoom with Victoria and a few other of the bards, because I think there's 20 or 21 of us overall.
Yeah.
So we'd be in groups of like 6.
Wow.
And we'd each do sections of it, like a monologue and a piece, because it's like bits of monologues, bits of Shakespeare thrown in with Shakespeare himself trying to talk about his situation, what that play meant, what that moment meant, what could we get of inspiration in life to keep us going at this current moment in time. So we each did sections of that in rehearsal, and then we each did a dress rehearsal for Victoria via Zoom again.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and I did my first public showing the other week when the Daily Telegraph came and all those guys. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How was the experience?
It was amazing to perform again to people who you don't know, and having a response from them as well. It was absolutely amazing, especially from such a critic like in the Daily Telegraph, one of the highest critics in the country.
As an audience, when I saw your performance, it's like a good mix of Shakespeare himself talking in modern English, and also his actual monologue.
Yes.
I was quite entertained by that.
Good.
And I learned a lot of history about him. The play itself took place in 1605, so I learned a lot of comparison between now and then.
That's why the modern dialogue is there, so you can have that connecting link, and then you can go into the Shakespeare, which would then make it easier to understand if maybe you don't understand Shakespeare as well.
So we're talking about Bard. I don't know, this is a bit a shame, but I didn't know about Bard is William Shakespeare.
Yes.
So is it a common thing?
Yeah, very common. I mean, it's very common. It must be then very common here. So a bard is like a set writer, a given writer of certain importance. And William Shakespeare is like, he's the bard of all bards. Because he's, I guess, the original architect of English-speaking theatre. Yeah. So he's like our bard. But there would also be bards in theory for like the Greeks and the Romans and stuff like that. Absolutely, but he is what is considered to be the universal bard.
I see.
Because a lot of the stories that we see in film, TV and theatre today have some sort of connection and link to one of his stories,
Just out of curiosity, how many Shakespeare's monologues in the Bard in the Yard?
I think there are, I want to say, top of my head, I think 11. I knew them, but I didn't know them, so I had to learn 11 new speeches.
I mean, if you got 11 Shakespeare monologues, your drawers, that's actors, isn't it?
And it was great getting to understand and try and learn different characters and their different agendas and their different speeches. But I said it to Victoria, the artistic director. I said to her that, I've never been happier to have a line headache before from line study. Because it's nice to know that it's happening again, but in such a definite defined way, You go from, Henry V to Romeo and Juliet to a fairy from Midsummer into Richard II and then into Hamlet and Robert. It's great to try and balance it all, and the witches and Macbeth. And
one of the reviewers wrote about you saying it's great to see the one actors changing between all the characters.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was fun to do. Because I've never really been able to do that before. I've never done a one-man show.
Wow, that's a
ever before.
Big step for you.
Yeah, but I've always wanted to do one, so it was a great way to do one. And I haven't done that much Shakespeare in the past. I've done a little bit here and there.
Really?
So it was really nice to get stuck in and do some Shakespeare.
Yeah,
fully.
I've researched about the company a little bit, and they look like a really legit Shakespeare company.
They understand Shakespeare. I mean, Victoria is Shakespeare encyclopedia.
It must give you a great confidence.
Yeah.
Doing Shakespeare,
it does, though.
I can do this.
It does, and when you've got people like Victoria leading you, you trust the process more.
When it comes to performing Bard in the Yard, what health and safety measures are in place to protect yourself and also make sure you're binding the government guidelines?
Sure. So that was one of the big discussions when it all began.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to figure out how you can get from a front door to a garden. Now, initially it was a case of you couldn't go into a house. But now it's changed, so you can go through a house. They have to set up the audience seating within a 2-metre separation from themselves. And then I, as the performer, have my set space that has a 2-metre front from myself to the nearest audience member to me.
But still, you can only perform in the garden.
Yes, for, I believe, 6 people at most.
So, I think we just mentioned previously, but you guys got 21 actors for that performance. How that work? Like, who's going to perform or whatever?
So, we have like a set, I think, 3-mile radius around where we live. So we're all over London, we're spread all over London. And basically what happens is someone books, they put their postcode, and then the company will see which of the bards are closest to them, and then who's actually available for it.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it works. So I've just done the one so far.
For the reviewer?
Yes, for the reviewer. And we have a couple of them doing some outdoor theatre festivals.
Oh, cool.
I think next week. There's a Shakespeare statue being unveiled at Southwark Cathedral. And we've actually got 5 of the bards doing it over the course of 2 days. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So those actors that live in the South London, South East London area, who can get to Southwark Cathedral easily, and it's going to be an awesome opportunity. It's going to be really cool.
Amazing.
Really cool.
I was just thinking an individual household wouldn't demand that play, but not only that, but actual company itself can ask for you guys to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, even if it's a case of companies could even be like care homes and stuff like that. Which I'm desperate to do a care home.
Yeah, it's like a birthday. Instead of asking a music band,
Yes.
they can ask.
You can ask a bard
actors.
to come.
Yeah, amazing.
Do some Shakespeare for you. Yeah.
I think that's probably a good idea to continue that play even after the lockdown.
They are talking about extending it
That's good.
and seeing how much further they can go with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just a case of when it's cold. You don't really want to be doing Shakespeare in the garden for 50 minutes when it's cold, especially in England. It'll probably rain.
Yeah.
So
True.
wouldn't be nice being a bard doing that. Yeah.
This 2 months is the perfect
It's a good-
month.
it's a-
I
yeah.
forgot about we have a raining a
What about
lot.
how it's bad in the weather here?
No.
Yeah.
Recently, it's so nice out there.
But we've been very, very blessed with very good weather during lockdown.
So, this is such a big topic. But do you think this play is a good way to save the earth?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, because it shows the importance of what art can do, which is take you away from the current event or give you a different perspective of life. And, you know, these are fundamentals. And I feel that the arts do that very, very well, maybe better than a lot of other things. There are people out there that sort of go, oh, we didn't need to give money to the arts. And those people probably, after they said that, put on Netflix. And it's like, well, you've just contradicted your entire statement you've just made. You know, I mean, the art sector in this country generates multiple billions of pounds for the economy. And yet it was one of the last sectors to get financially helped. But no, we are. I mean, you know, we're very blessed in this country to have such strong theatre value and tradition. I mean, I would even say more so than America, because here regional theatre is, I believe, to be more respected than in America.
I think so
as
too.
well. You know, everywhere has a theatrical outlet and is very strong with it and very passionate about it. It's not just London here, and that's very obvious.
Yeah.
And that's become more obvious with the lockdown, because you've seen theatres that are struggling, that have such importance, and there's such a cry of help for them.
Yeah.
So thankfully this money's now come in because we can help those theatres.
It's so important that theatre having a good connections with local people.
Yeah. I think regional theatre is more important than London theatre, because regional theatre is where we as actors all come from. Actors come from all over Britain, and they get their influences and their inspirations from things like pantos, which have a huge impact on the local community.
Yeah.
And that's going to suffer this year in particular, because we don't know about money. And the sad thing is, a lot of those theatres rely on pantos to financially secure themselves for the coming year. But that just pinpoints the real importance of what regional theatre can do for anyone. Because for me, you know, I mean, it was the Royal Court for me was the one that made me think I want to be an actor. But there are theatres all over the country where one person will see a show, I want to be an actor. And it's because of regional theatre, that's why it's so important, because it puts sort of all the links, the connections that can get you into the industry, can get you in love with it.
Yeah.
So to me, regional theatre is more important than West End and London theatre.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You told me that you got such a good idea to save theatre.
Which one is it?
I don't know. You didn't tell me because you wanted to save for this one.
Did I? I must have been fucking hammered. Let me try and think what it would be.
One thing you've mentioned before about using theatre as a pub.
Yes.
I mean, it's happening. Did you see the Royal Court starting opening up for cafe and?
Yes. Well, I think that might have even been what I was maybe even getting onto, was turning all the West End theatres into bars.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you think about it, you know, the pubs around the West End, they're all tiny.
Yeah.
And with government guidelines where it's just table service or seated, they would only be able to fit maybe 20 to 30 people in them when normally they get 70 to 80. So if you opened up all the theatres in London and put a big bar on the stage...
On the stage?
If you got all the West End theatres together and they all put a bar on their stages and, you know, took out the seats, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff, you've got potentially a 200-seater, 300-seater pub. But what you've also got is maybe even like a sort of a culture where you could do a pub crawl around West End theatres. And let's say there's a point where you can stand on the stage and you can take a selfie or something. Or there's like a standing area. And you can collect your selfies as you go along on West End stages having drinks. And it gets audience members onto the stage so they can sort of see the perspective of the performer. Even if it was open from, like, let's say 1 till 10, they could generate a lot of money that way, theatres. They could generate money that, yeah, they might not necessarily get on a show day, but they're making nothing and they haven't done for 3 to 4 months now.
True. Also, like, since we started the lockdown, it's been like 4 months. The theatre, sure, they need to start thinking about how they can make money instead of just relying on the government.
Yeah, well, totally, that's the thing. But then if the government aren't allowing the guidelines for them to do those sort of things, there's nothing they can actually legally then do. That's why the things like the Zoom performances like the Old Vic are doing they're very clever. They're a way to make money.
Yeah.
But a lot of companies don't have those facilities. Also, their shows won't have a name in it because a name gets you a ticket. It's tough. It's difficult. West End theatres can do that.
Yeah.
Regional ones can't as much. Or pub theatres.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we haven't got any solution, but
No.
I would love to keep talking about how we can improve the situation for
Absolutely.
the industry. Thank you so much, Jono,
You're welcome.
today.
Thank you.
It's really nice talking to you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much as well.
Bye bye.